Love Nation, this is Nina. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Thank you to everybody that has been coming to my channel. Like this video, share this video, and hit that notification bell so you guys know when I drop my next one. You guys, we are now on part 4 of the stunning lawsuit against rapper Fat Joe. And his ex-hype man is definitely telling all the alleged business in this lawsuit. Let's get straight back to reading. Again, this is part 4. Next chapter. Tolling of the statute of limitations. Discovery rule. Plaintiff alleges that defendant Fat Joe fraudulently concealed materials, facts concerning compensation, per diem allocation, authorship credit, publishing revenue, and contractual rights through the duration of their professional relationship. Plaintiff did not and could not reasonably discover the extent of defendant's fraudulent conduct until 2024, when a former manager revealed that defendant had secretly withheld performance funds, misappropriated royalties, and deliberately omitted plaintiff from credit-bearing documentation. These disclosures were later confirmed by accountant Doe, who had direct access to internal financial and employee records of the enterprise. Throughout the relevant period, defendant Fat Joe maintained exclusive control over all booking agreements, financial disbursement records, and publishing registrations. The plaintiff was denied access to these materials and fed repeated verbal reassurances that he would be taken care of, thereby suppressing inquiry into his compensation status. Under New York law, the statute of limitations for fraud-based claims is subject to discovery rule, which tolls accrual until the plaintiff discovers, or reasonably should have discovered, the fraudulent conduct. See CPLR Section 213(8). New York courts consistently toll limitation periods in cases where the defendant enjoys superior access to information and holds a fiduciary, or confidential relationship with plaintiff. Given the deeply unequal balance of power between the parties and the defendant's gatekeeping of all relevant documents, tolling is not only warranted but necessary. The plaintiff brought this action within 2 years of uncovering the full scope of misconduct, rendering his fraud-based claims timely under CPLR Section 213(8), and consistent with the equitable tolls doctrine. In addition, federal claims under the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, TVPA, are likewise subject to tolling, considering defendant's coercive and manipulative conduct, which included verbal intimidation, threats of abandonment, and a chronic pattern of exploitation that distorted plaintiff's sense of agency and impeded timely legal recourse. As such, all claims raised in this complaint are timely and meritorious and should be adjudicated on the substantive grounds. Next chapter, factual background. Plaintiff's role as a creative partner and uncompensated laborer. From 2005 through 2022, plaintiff Terrence Dixon, aka TA, worked in close partnership with defendant Fat Joe and key members of Fat Joe's enterprise, including defendants Pistol Pete, Rich Player, and Erica, Slate Inc., Sneaker Addict Touring LLC, and Rock Nation LLC. Over 16 years, plaintiff contributed substantially to defendant's creative output, stage shows, brand development, and operational logistics, enabling defendant to build a multi-million-dollar public persona and enterprise. Plaintiff undertook these responsibilities without a formal contract, clear employment designation, or fair compensation. These conditions were deliberately crafted and maintained by defendant to extract labor while denying plaintiff the financial and reputational benefits of his work. Plaintiff's role extended far beyond the duties of a conventional hype man. He consistently performed the following: 1. Co-wrote lyrics, structured hooks, and recorded background vocals used on released tracks. 2. Performed at more than 200 live shows, serving as the primary crowd energizer and on-stage counterpart to defendant. 3. Managed travel logistics, including equipment transport, personal security, and emergency arrangements. 4. Acted as defendant's bodyguard and handler during domestic and international tours. 5. Contributed to branding strategies, music concepts, and studio ideation critical to album development. Defendant Fat Joe and the Enterprise, including Rock Nation, Slate Inc., and Sneaker Addict Touring LLC, reaped substantial financial rewards from plaintiff, uncompensated labor, profiting from plaintiff's creative and operational contributions without providing proper credit or compensation. Defendants intentionally withheld credit, royalties, back-end profit, and publishing interest from plaintiff, ensuring complete creative and financial control remained solely with the defendant Fat Joe and the Enterprise. Plaintiff's unrecognized and unpaid labor thus became the silent foundation of defendant Fat Joe's commercial success, leaving plaintiff economically disadvantaged and professionally invincible. Plaintiff was recruited under the false promise of a creative partnership, but was instead systematically exploited through coercion, manipulation, and deception. Uncredited songwriting and false promises of royalties. Throughout his work with defendant, plaintiff co-authored and or performed on numerous commercially released songs, including but not limited to All the Way Up, Congratulations, Money Over Female Dogs, Ice Cream, 300 Brolic, No Problems, and Winding on Me. Plaintiffs contributed lyrics, melodies, vocal phrasing, and conceptual design to these works, substantially shaping their final form as distributed to the public. Despite his involvement, plaintiff was never listed in official metadata, ASCAP, or BMI publishing credits, PRO, Performance Right Organization, records, or back-end royalty chains. Instead, all ownership and revenue rights were claimed by defendant Fat Joe and companies he controlled or was affiliated with, included Slate Inc., Sneaker Addict Touring LLC. Defendant Fat Joe and plaintiff negotiated the following compensation for his creative efforts, explicitly assuring him that he would receive 1. 15% ownership interest in every track to which he contributed. 2. 15% of gross earnings derived from those songs. 3. Issuance of letter of direction to secure royalty and publishing payments through performing rights organizations, PROs, ASCAP, BMI, or similar PROs. Plaintiff reasonably relied on these assurances, continuing to contribute labor, lyrics, and creative insights to songs that generated substantial streaming revenue and public acclaim. However, defendants Fat Joe, Rock Nation, Slate Inc., and Moriella deliberately failed to fulfill these promises. No letter of direction was issued. Plaintiff was not registered with any performing rights organizations, and royalties and publishing payments owed to plaintiff were systematically withheld and diverted to defendants. Defendants' conduct, affirmative misrepresentations, followed by silence, exclusion, and deceit, constitutes not only fraudulent concealment, but also violations of the TVPA and Civil RICO statutes, which prohibit coercive, deceptive extraction of labor for commercial gain. Upon information and belief, defendant Fat Joe currently receives more than $60,000 per month in publishing royalties and $20,000 per month in streaming revenue from the songs plaintiff helped create. Yet plaintiff has never received a single dollar in connection with those recordings. In 2024, plaintiff discovered that defendant, working with individuals including Erica Moriella and others associated with Slate Inc., submitted falsified and backdated split sheets omitting plaintiff's authorship. These records were used to divert royalty income and construct a paper trail that falsely attributed full publishing ownership to defendant and his designated entities. Those ghost contracts and falsified submissions were designed to retroactively exclude plaintiff from economic participation while preserving the outward appearance of a clean title. The resulting injury is twofold. Plaintiff was deprived of economic compensation and erased from industry records, foreclosing future collaboration opportunities and denying him a public acknowledgement of his artistic contributions. The wrongful conduct extended beyond music publishing. It affected every aspect of defendant's business dealings with plaintiff, from tour earnings to merchandise deals, studio credits, and licensing arrangements. The systematic nature of these misrepresentations and omissions, and the duration over which they occurred, satisfies the scheme of artifice to defraud, standard under federal wire fraud statutes, and reinforces plaintiff's RICO claims under U.S. Section 18, 1962C, and 1964C. As late as 2022, defendants continued to assure plaintiff that payments would be forthcoming, that things take time, and that they got your info already. They repeated delays were intended to lull plaintiff into continued loyalty while the enterprise reaped the financial rewards of his labor. It was only after multiple insiders, including accountant Doe, began to come forward in 2024 that plaintiff learned the full extent of the fraud. Defendant Fat Joe and Roc Nation, who took over management of his business affairs in 2017, knew or should have known about the omission of plaintiff from royalty structures and the falsehoods embedded in the publishing records. Roc Nation exercised operational control over Fat Joe's catalog, managed the flow of royalties, and received a 10% cut of all business revenue generated by defendant and his companies. They had the means, access, and authority to rectify the omissions, but instead ratified and concealed them. From 2017 through the end of plaintiff's tenure, Roc Nation appointed a director to whom plaintiff reported. This relationship qualifies under the joint employer doctrine and supports plaintiff's claims that Roc Nation knowingly participated in the exploitive arrangement. As of this filing of this complaint, plaintiff remains wholly excluded from every royalty stream tied to the songs he helped create. His professional identity as a lyricist and co-author has been suppressed in service of defendant's economic domination and the maintenance of a fraudulent authorship narrative. We are going to continue with this shocking lawsuit in a little bit. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. Tell me what you think about Fat Joe's ex-hype man exposing all of this information because he was not paid at all. Share your opinion. Like, share, comment below. I'll see you guys back for part 5 shortly. Bye, guys.